Hi, Dateables. Welcome to another episode of the Dateable podcast. We are Yue and Julie, your dating Sherpas, your dating confidants, your dating BFFs. You can call us whatever you want, as long as it's a nice word.
As long as it's nice. Yeah, exactly. You could call us whatever nickname as long as it's a good one.
Yeah, keep
I
it
feel
positive.
like so exciting that we got this email that we were number one in
Yeah,
all of social sciences category
on Good
for
Pods.
on Good Pods. Yeah, this new, what is it, like a curation site
Mm-hmm.
that you can, discover
Explore.
podcasts.
Yeah.
But we were so the first day we were number one, we got this email. Then we checked in and we had dropped to number two, which is still a good achievement.
Yeah.
We were behind Hidden Brain, which is like from like a PhD.
It's huge.
Super reputable podcast. My boyfriend listens to it and I just was like, look who is behind Hidden Brain, your favorite podcast. Your girlfriend is so damn smart.
I mean, that's
Don't ever
huge
forget
for
it.
us.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster of rankings. For anybody who's in podcasting, you get put on all these lists, and sometimes you're like, I don't know, 1 million, and 5 or whatever, and then sometimes we get happy when we're in the top 100 because that's huge. There are
Yeah.
millions and millions of podcasts out there, but to be in the top 3 or top 5, it's a
Number
huge
one.
deal. Yeah, I never really thought that would ever happen, but number one is huge because it wasn't just number one in like the dateable category. It was like number one in a huge category of many other podcasts.
There was one time that we got to the top 5 on Apple Podcasts
Yes.
under relationships, which is huge.
Yes.
We're behind like Michelle Obama and Esther Perel. We're like, damn, this is good.
Yes.
But I feel like one of the or the existential struggles we face with this podcast is how we classify it. Because I feel like, I know obviously it's a dating podcast. We're not going to say it's not. We talk about dating culture. That is the crux of it. But I feel like when you tell people you do a dating podcast, like they don't think it covers nearly as much as we cover.
it kind of minimizes what we cover.
It does.
Because we go beyond that. It's about human connection and patterns and behaviors. So I do think there needs to be a different category. I don't know if life and science, is that what it was? Life
Social
sciences?
sciences.
Social
yeah.
sciences.
I can see it a little, but
It's
yeah.
a little broad, right?
Yeah.
There could be something more.
Some of ours hit that. Maybe like the sex party episode or diaper fetish didn't really fall into social sciences.
You don't think?
Maybe schema, some of those ones I could see, but I don't think it accurately represents us either. It's a subset of what we do.
Yeah, well, either one, we were number one, and then we dropped to number 2, and we're still holding on to that spot, and it feels like an honor to be on that list.
Yeah. Yue, we're just in a category of our own. When someone asks, we just be like, there's no words to describe what we do. We just help people all the time.
I do want to shed some light on how a lot of podcasts get their listens. We are a homegrown, organic, individually, privately owned podcast, and there are so many other bigger podcasts who are backed by like iHeart, Spotify, all of the bigger companies. So the way they get their listens, even within the first season of their launch, is that they spend millions of dollars on ads. They really advertise the shit out of the podcast. And so for us to even make these lists, I just feel like it must mean something because we don't spend money on ads, if any, really right now. And this is all from word of mouth. So thank you all for listening and for spreading the word.
Yes. I mean, we would not be here without our listener base.
No.
That is for damn sure. And I mean, it's just been such a pleasure to, I'm going to say like quote unquote meeting you, although we have met some of you.
Yes.
But even
in person.
virtually in the last year plus, the last 2 years, how long have we been doing the Facebook group? 2 years?
Over 2 years. Yes.
Over 2 years. But I feel like even, being in the sounding board, Yue and I still do a monthly office hours and we get to talk to people live and, in some of our programs, Finding Your Person, which may or may not be coming back soon. We'll leave it at that.
Findingyourperson.com.
We get the opportunity to talk in very intimate settings with you all. And, I think that means so much to us. I mean, one, so we can see who the listeners are. I think putting a name to a number in our stats reports, like, it tells us so much more about who our listener base is. I remember we, had a discussion when we were launching Finding Your Person with the company that was helping us. And they were like, you guys have a pretty good grasp of who's listening to this podcast.
Yeah, we do.
More than any other people we've worked with. And we're like, yep, because we have so much interaction. And, that makes us so happy that we're able to do that.
We don't just talk into the ether. I think all of our topics, questions, they are inspired by you all, the Facebook group, the in-person interactions, the DMs and emails we get. So keep them coming, because without you, we wouldn't have our content. And we really appreciate the diversity of topics that we've been getting here too. It's really phenomenal to see, one, you're all going through lots of different journeys, but two, you're not alone in what you're doing.
There's so much similarity that comes through all of it. And I think the episode we have today is really interesting because it's such a hot topic of like, is there a spark? Is there instant connection? Or do you let it grow over time? And I personally don't think there's a right answer for that. So sorry, we cannot shed light that it has to be this way. If you're a long listener of this podcast, we'll never tell you need to follow a rule. But I think one of the things that we've learned from different stories is a lot of it is just like the headspace that you're in at the time. So while, things can grow over time, I think a lot of times it's not about the person, but more of like the factors of where someone is in their life.
Yeah, so many pieces fall into place. And when all those pieces fall into place, you often hear people describe it as when you know, you just get this feeling. And our guest for this episode, Trace, had that feeling with someone where he jumped right into marriage with this person and just knew right away. Whether you believe that feeling exists or not, do know that it does exist for people out there.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting to acknowledge that some people feel like when you know, you know.
Have you ever felt that way? Or did you feel that way with your current partner?
No. I mean, I know I'm with the right person, but it's not like I know this is my person forever. I've never had that feeling.
But I also think when you two met, you were both kind of like not fully like at the point of like it took you guys a little time to get to where you are today.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Julie?
I mean, I think there's a side of me that like when I met my current partner that I was like, oh, this is like very different than anything. And like,
different.
This is real.
Yes.
And there was a side of me that was like, I definitely knew. But I think there's always like, in all relationships, if you're an overthinker, especially, you can overthink your way into anything.
Yes.
And I'm just very consciously trying to be like, there's so much wonderful stuff about what the relationship I'm in. And I feel like sometimes I can get a little like even, deadline driven or milestone oriented. And I'm really trying to like pull that back a little because I don't think that is actually like a healthy way to be. But I think the whole like when I definitely knew in some ways, but I think you're right. Like life's evolving. Sometimes it's impossible to fully know what life will throw at you and how you'll grow or go apart.
You said the key word though, different. You felt different with this person. I think different sometimes is a very good thing. Different means you're not doing the same things over and over again. And the overthinking piece is so huge because I think you'll hear in this story when Trace stopped overthinking, that's when he opened his heart and was able to find the love of his life, who was right in front of him this whole time. And it's an incredible story. And I hear this all the time too, is when you stop overthinking, your heart is free to feel the things that it wants to feel versus us being so logical and thinking it has to be this checklist. It has to, I have to be at this point in my career and I have to have this before I can get in a relationship. Love doesn't work like that. And when you're closed off to it, it doesn't matter what kind of person you encounter. It could be the best person in the world. You won't be able to be open to this person.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's a line because I think people can swing the opposite way too, right? Like I'm thinking of like our dating scam episode from a few weeks
Yes.
back.
Yes.
You need to think some things through. It shouldn't just be
Yes.
like just jump into everything. But there becomes a line. Like if you're being treated well, you feel secure in the relationship. Like it's easy to find faults. Like I'm also thinking of like the episode we did with Shirzad, right? About the what were those called? The saboteurs. Like there's ways that you can always find faults with someone. Sometimes you need to just let that part of your brain turn off and take the plunge when you have enough data to know that at least it's like a sound decision. I think I've tried to like the when you know it sounds really scary because it's like oh, it's for the rest of my life. And I think honestly that's why I like hesitated a little too, is because because I'm an overthinker and an analyzer, it's nothing to do with my partner. I'm like, how do I know in 10 years? And I think you're the same way. It's not like about the person. It's just like, what if I'm totally different? What if they're totally different?
And you won't know.
You won't know. And I think when you know doesn't need to be like forever. It's like current day. If you ask me today, do I feel like I know? I would say yes, because that's all you can control.
And that's all we can think, too, is what we know today. I think that's so beautifully put. And so many times we are not in tune with how we feel right now. We measure everything against these future potential unexpected things. It doesn't matter because we can't control the future. And that's why this story is so great, because I think it does inspire people to be maybe more spontaneous and also just taking the lead sometimes. I often think about this. If two people in a relationship or dating, if one person doesn't mention, hey, how about we take the next step? Nothing would happen. No. Imagine no relationships would ever happen. It just takes one person to say, how about we do this?
And change is scary. I think inevitably change is scary for a lot of people, but it can also be really beautiful. Like you can go to a next stage and have a totally different experience, but different in an amazing way.
Yeah, we're also scared. Everything's so driven by fear. So scared of. I think why I'm so scared of knowing when I know is that I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to get my heart broken. But if we
you just don't want to admit it, right?
You don't want to exactly.
Yeah.
Because what if it's not true? What if my feeling was wrong? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, if you truly feel it, nobody can take that away from you.
Yep. I think, though, people shouldn't feel just like this is definitely an example of someone that knew instantly. Yeah. I mean, it kind of, because like, you'll hear it in the story. Kind of. There is a little buildup when they were in each other's lives and did not know. But then when that switch went off, they knew. So I think it's just an example that, every story is different. And there could be people that know each other for years before something becomes something. There could be people that go on one date and are like, this is going to be it. There is so many extremes to this that it's just such an individual story perspective. And in a way that's kind of nice. Like there doesn't have to be one script. We kind of see what works for us and we build that story with whoever we're with.
I related so hard to this story, Julie, in a way that made sense for my past relationships, is that most of my relationships have been because I saw someone in a different way. And it wasn't about meeting new people. I think so many people are like, I need to meet new people, and there's like not enough people in my town. For me, most of my relationships were because I saw someone in a different way, like my current partner. Yeah. I've known him for over 10 years. Yeah. I didn't see him in that way till recently. Same with my long-term relationship in Beijing. This guy I was friends with, and all of a sudden I had a thing for him. Same with a New York relationship too. Was something just turned on in my head, and I saw this person as a potential romantic interest. And I think that's lovely to know that maybe you don't need to meet new people to get into a relationship. Maybe it's just about reframing and just re-looking at the people in your lives already.
I love that. I think that's so dead on. I know I have a friend that is now with her now partner, and for years did not see him as that. And she was going after, like that typical like band dude, right? Like that's just like treats you like shit.
Like
You're yeah. Like I'm trying to explain
like a group,
okay,
like you're a groupie to this guy or what?
So like
what's a band dude?
Oh no, I just lost you. Oh, here we are. I was like, what happened? So it's like kind of like that like hipster cool guy that's in a band. Like they're evasive, I don't know, like their first priority isn't you, basically.
No.
Like their priority is like becoming famous. And even though they're like playing at, somewhere
like
that
Berkeley
they're
Bowl
getting
like
basically paid in drinks or something.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And she was into that type that, was a little more like edgy and cool, right? And then her current partner like wasn't that. And it took her shifting what she was actually looking for to realize like this great person was sitting here. So I think sometimes it's, again, where are you and when does that click happen? A lot of it has to be that you're in the right place.
So funny you say that, because think about this. It's like some people, once they start dating a certain type, maybe they've dated two people of that type, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where they feel like they need to keep dating people of that type because that's who I am. I date people like this. I resonate with that because I was like, I used to date guys who were the, ex-football guys, and that's my thing. And I'm going to keep searching for that. That's what happens when you get stuck on a type. You don't open your eyes up to the people who are actually better suited for you.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Okay. Well, so much food for thought. We'll leave it at that so we can dive into the episode. But before we do that, a couple of announcements. One, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Let's get to number 1 on Apple Podcasts with all of your support. So drop us 5 stars. Hopefully a nice little love note too. We love to see the feedback coming, especially when it's positive. But this really does help our livelihood. So if you have something negative to say, maybe just don't say it. Just saying.
Just be nice. Move on.
This is a free podcast, let's be honest. So another quick announcement, we are going to be opening up registration again for Finding Your Person, our flagship program. We've heard such great feedback from folks, and UA and I have some bandwidth that we feel like we could take on another cohort. So we will be announcing the exact day that the cart will be open, essentially, to get your spot. But you can go to the waitlist now and go to findingyourperson.com. Join that and you'll get everything you need to know about when the waitlist will open. If you're on the waitlist, you'll get an email the day before it goes out to the public. So get on there and see what it's all about. So findingyourperson.com.
This program has been life-changing for some people, and it's all about reshifting and reshuffling some of the things that you may have experienced or believe in your dating career. So it's such an eye-opening course, I guess you could call it, with different ideas and questions that you may have never thought of before.